what this is. This is From Nothing to Something Else. And today I have been listening to all the sports shows on TV and on the radio all day long, just grinning from ear to ear because I think something has happened that can teach people a very important lesson. The topic of today is don't get swept. Don't get swept like the Brooklyn Nets just did. Alright, if people are hoopers, if you've been paying attention to the NBA playoffs, then you know the Brooklyn Nets just got swept, kicked out, didn't win one game in the NBA playoffs. For those who don't watch the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets were favored to win the NBA championship, and they didn't get one win in the NBA playoffs. The only team in the NBA playoffs and is at home right now. They at home. They gone. They chilling. They on the couch with me and you, chilling right now, not working. Like I said, important lesson can be taken from this because I feel the Brooklyn Nets got in their own way. Some of the players got in their own way. Like I said, they had two of the greatest players. Alright, favored to win the championship. One of those great players said that they did not need a coach, which is why they hired a coach that had never coached before, had no experience. They said they didn't need coaches. They could be coaches themselves. And I think people get a little too arrogant. You know, when you get to a certain level of success, or some people are just knuckleheads and hard-headed, and they don't feel like they can be taught anything. I had to teach my kids that you can never be too good to learn something. You never know everything, and you can always learn something from someone. So when people tell you something, man, it's really valuable to hang on to really listen to that, because you might not agree with everything they said, but there are some things that you can always take away from that person. So you can always be coached. You can always be taught something new. You should always seek that. So start off the season by saying, we don't need a coach. That's why they're at home right now. Number two thing that I think is an important lesson is same player, made some decisions that kept him away from the team. One of the players got traded halfway through the season. People in the sports world picked them to be favorites to win the championship. And it's just absurd that you think that two players or a team that has players that don't put in the work throughout the season and build that camaraderie with the team and put in that work with the teammates and is in the grind every day, is just going to show up and win it all. That's absurd to think of. So many times you see people who get a little amount of success and think that they could just show up and shine, and that's not realistic. That's not what happens. And I think the world learned, I think the Brooklyn Nets learned that, hey man, you gotta be dedicated. You gotta be dedicated to your craft. You gotta be dedicated to your hustle. You gotta be dedicated to yourself. To always show up, put in the work. That way you will see the results. So I think those are really two important things that will stop people from getting swept in life. And maybe the Nets won't get swept next year. But really, man, you can always learn something, and you always got to put in the work. Okay? Like, those are two things that aren't ever questionable. And those are two of the bland things that I've seen out of the Brooklyn Nets that I think is the reason why they're at home and why they got swept. Why the Bruins came out, you know what I mean? And why they're at home. So don't get swept, okay? You got to be able to learn. That's the only way you're going to be able to grow. You got to be able to take criticism, and you got to put in the work, because it doesn't matter how good you are, faith without works is dead, all right? You have to trust in yourself, trust in God, trust in the abilities that He gave you, but understand you have to put in the work, and you have to be able to learn. You have to get out of your own way so you can grow. And right now, I think the Nets were at home because they got in their own way. They thought they didn't need to be coached. They thought they were too good. They thought they were above reproach. They thought that they could just come out of nowhere and win it all. That's not how things work. So don't get swept, y'all. This is From Nothing to Something Else. I'm Josh. That's all I got to say. Peace out.